Greetings. It is a joy to be with you in this virtual space. Our church community welcomes you whether you are new or a longtime member. And we especially want to welcome those who are with us today on YouTube for the first time. If you'd like to learn more about our community and its online offerings, please go to nsuc.org and sign up for our newsletter. There has never been a better time to get involved or to become a member of the North Shore Unitarian Church. We would love to get to know you and to get you connected. Welcome. So much is happening in our world, so much that can weigh on our hearts and spirits. And yet, it is a new day, a time for new possibilities and a gathering together for justice and for love. In that spirit, I begin today with some words from Andrea Gibson. When two violins are placed in a room, if a chord on one of those violins is struck, the other violin will sound the note. If this is your definition of hope, then this here today is for you, the ones who know how powerful we are, who know we can sound the music and the people around us simply by playing our own strings, for the ones who sing life into broken wings, open their chests and offer their breath as wind on a still day when nothing seems to be moving. With breath, with hope, with life, let us gather into this time together today. And so we light our flame. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. My spiritual companions, welcome to this day in this place.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Darrick Jackson, and I'm happy to lead North Shore Unitarian Church in worship today. I currently serve as the Director of Ministries for Lifelong Learning for the UU Ministers Association, and am an affiliated community minister with the Second Unitarian Church of Chicago. It is good that we can be virtually here together.
North Shore Unitarian Church is a community that is grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. We accomplish this mission through the generous donation of our members and friends. And so we invite you to text your donation now. Please note that in order to give, you must include NSUC, the designated fund, and the amount.
Much of today's recording was done before the shooting of Jacob Blake. But I cannot help but think that the message that you are about to hear from Reverend Darrick, his message of yes and, is applicable here. We need to find our yes and in order to move forward into the world right now. We need to be able to acknowledge that yes, there is hardship. Yes, there is pain. Yes, there is heartbreak. And yes, there is grief. And then we also have to find the and I'm still going to work for justice. And I'm still going to find what is beautiful in our world and to try to preserve it and love it. And I'm still going to affirm that Black lives matter. And we can do better than what we see in our world. So, my spiritual companions, I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer, a spirit of prayer that is in the tenor of that yes and. Spirit of life, God of many names, love that lures us ever more deeply into community, we stand in your presence today. We come today with an acknowledgement that, yes, our hearts are broken. Yes, our hearts are broken open for Jacob Blake, for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for Ahmaud Arbery, and for so many others. Compassionate Spirit, we acknowledge and say yes to that heartbreak while also seeking a deeper and that will help us acknowledge that while yes, there is pain, there are pathways forwards towards justice. Our concerns are turned also towards all of those who are affected by the fires in California and all those affected by the hurricanes in the Gulf Coast. We seek also that deep and here. Yes, destruction is happening. Yes, the environment is in peril. And we can seek ways to repair and rebuild and love each other in our world more strongly and more deeply. Yes, it is dark. And there will be light if we choose to move towards it. Let this be our hope and our prayer in this day and in the days to come. Amen, amen, and amen.
Our reading this morning is Tina Fey's Rules of Improvisation by Tina Fey. The first rule of improvisation is agree. Always agree and say yes. When you're improvising, this means you are required to agree with whatever your partner has created. So if we're improvising and I say, freeze, I have a gun, and you say, That's not a gun, it's your finger. You're pointing your finger at me. Our improvised scene has ground to a halt. But if I say, freeze, I have a gun, and you say, the gun I gave you for Christmas? Then we have started a scene because we have agreed that my finger is, in fact, a Christmas gun. Now, obviously, in real life, you're not always going to agree with everything everyone says. But the rule of agreement reminds you to respect what your partner has created, and to at least start from an open-minded place. Start with a yes, and see where that takes you. As an improviser, I always find it jarring when I meet someone in real life whose first answer is no. No, we can't do that. No, that's not in the budget. No, I will not hold your hand for $1. What kind of way is that to live? The second rule of improvisation is not only to say yes, but yes and. You are supposed to agree and then add something of your own. If I start a scene with, I can't believe it's so hot in here, and you just said, yeah, we're kind of at a standstill. But if I say, I can't believe it's so hot in here, and you say, what did you expect? We're in hell. Or if I say, I can't believe it's so hot in here, and you say, yes, this can't be good for the wax figures. Or if I say, I can't believe it's so hot in here, and you say, I told you we shouldn't have crawled into this dog's mouth. Now we're getting somewhere. To me, yes and means don't be afraid to contribute. It's your responsibility to contribute. Always make sure you're adding something to the discussion. Your initiations are worthwhile. In times like these, we need to have practices that sustain us, things that ground us, connect us, bring us joy. One of my practices is improvisation. I have been involved in improv in one way or another for almost 20 years. I first became involved in improv through playback theater, which is a form of improv where we invite the audience to share stories, and then we offer those stories back through sound and movement and improv. I did that at the beginning of my seminary learning during the first few years, and after that our playback troupe disbanded. And so I kept using improv playback in class projects and kept it alive in many different ways. After I graduated from seminary and started in ministry, I was invited to be a part of Healing Moments, which is a ministry for caregivers of people with Alzheimer's, where we teach improv skills to them as a way of learning to be with the person that they're caring for. And so this was a very practical way of using improv in ministry. And I'm still involved with that organization today. When I taught at Meadville Lombard several years ago, I had the idea of having a course that integrated ministry and theology and the arts. And I came up with the course Ministry as Improv, where we learned basic improv skills and learn how to apply them in ministerial settings, of ways to engage and be present with each other. You see, for me, life is improv. But we never really know what's going to happen next. We have ideas of what's going to happen. We have plans in our head. But we don't know. We just respond to what is given to us. We live an improv life. And so I want to cultivate that and be intentional about that improv. It's not as scary as we might think. See, most of us, we are introduced to improv through shows like Whose Line Is It Anyway? These improv games that show off skill, and it seems very frightening. And as someone who does improv, some of those times of those things seem very frightening. But I'm inviting you to engage in a deeper sense of improv. Embrace an improv spirituality to ground and center. See, improv in many ways is a mindfulness practice. It requires you to be fully present to what is going on. And central to the spirituality, as we learned from Tina Fey in the reading, is saying yes. It is saying what is happening, is accepting it as it is. It is seeing what is going on as the reality for the moment. To engage what is and what can be. To be fully present. The improv guru, Keith Johnstone, writes, "There are people who prefer to say yes, and there are people who prefer to say no. Those who say yes are rewarded by the adventures they have, and those who say no are rewarded by the safety they attain. There are far more no-sayers than yes-sayers. But you can train one type to behave like the other." So, take a moment to think about yourself. Are you a yes-sayer or a no-sayer? There's no wrong answer in this. Just take a moment. Now think, what would it be like if you could be both? It could give you an opportunity to know when are those places to set boundaries, to be safe, but also open you up to taking risk, having an adventure, seeing what could be possible. Saying yes is about, as Tina Fey put it, respect what your partner has created. It's grounded in respect that we're in a conversation with another. We are offering respect to where they are, what they are going, by saying yes. That is real for them. That is their reality. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but you have to say yes to where they are, that is the place where they are. It's about acceptance, accepting what is going on, what is happening at the moment. Rumi writes, "Learn the alchemy true beings know. The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, the door opens." And what Rumi is talking about is that when we can accept what's going on and stop trying to pretend that it's not there, put all this energy into what it is not, there becomes space for something new to appear, for other options. We free up our mind, we free up our hearts, we free up space for new options. One thing that I learned from my time with Healing Moments was that studies show that the only thing that can reduce caregiver stress is acceptance. So when caregivers can actually accept that this is the situation their loved one is, that this is the situation, it can relieve stress. It lifts the weight off of their shoulders. Let me tell you a story from our founder, Jade Angelica. She was playing bridge with her mother. And her mother had Alzheimer's. And this was the first time that she was able to spend time with her mother since the diagnosis. And she was giving her sister a break from caregiving. And so Jade and her mother were having a wonderful time, and they start playing bridge. And Jade had been playing bridge since she was little. And so they're playing bridge, and all of a sudden her mother says, "Well, who taught you how to play?" Now Jade knew that her mother taught her how to play, but so wasn't sure how to respond to this. And so she just says, "Well, you did." And her mother says, No, I didn't." And Jade said, "Yes, you did." And then they start going back and forth. "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." Until Jade decides to just deflect the whole conversation and say, "It's your turn." And so they continue playing bridge for a while. And then the memory comes back to her mother and asks the question again, "No, really, who taught you how to play?" And Jade, guided by some sort of divine inspiration, says to her mother, "My mother did." And her mother says, "Oh, I didn't know Aunt Stella knew how to play." Now, this made Jade realize that she was being cast as her cousin. And it shifted the story. And so they started to have a conversation about Aunt Stella and what did she like to bake. And it shifted the frustration that had been in the first conversation to an opportunity to get to know more about her mother and her aunt. By accepting the situation and accepting the role that she had been cast by her mother, she was able to release the stress of the situation. Now, you don't have to necessarily be in a full agreement or liking when you accept. Nathaniel Brandon writes, accepting does not necessarily mean liking, enjoying, or condoning. I can accept what is and be determined to evolve from there. It is not acceptance but denial that leaves me stuck. When we accept, it gives us a place to grow, a place from which to move. But when we get stuck in that denial, we are blocked. There's nowhere to go. You can't have a conversation if you say something and the person just completely denies you, that says no. There's nowhere to go. But if you can accept, if you can say yes, it provides a springboard for something new. So in an improv, saying yes doesn't mean you always have to say the word yes. You can say no as long as you are accepting the offer that the person is giving you, accepting the reality in the world that you have been placed. And if you can go from there, you have someplace to go. But if you are actually denying the very existence of where things are, then you are, and we call this an improv, you're blocking. You are preventing movement. Now in improv, we don't just stop with yes. I mean, yes is good and acceptance is important. But the second rule, as Tina Fey writes, is yes and. This is when we bring our own contribution to the conversation, to the situation. It's a reminder that we are a part of what's going on. We are not passive consumers. We are to engage fully. And so when we say yes, we take it and move it forward. That we have some responsibility to be part of the movement. We don't just sit and say yes. We say yes, and then what is next? So, like in the reading, when Tina Fey gives the offer of "It's hot in here," just to say yes, it's hot doesn't help any. But to add something like where we are or who we're in conversation with, so yes, we're in hell, or yes, we are in a dog's mouth. I mean, that gives a direction for the conversation. We are adding something, a piece into it. And so in an improv spirituality, we learn to accept what is, and then we move to add to it, which might be shifting the direction. But we are accepting that this is the place that we're starting from. It's not a place of thinking that we are stuck in where we are. That is not the yes and. The yes says, okay, I see where this is the place we're starting from, and now I'm going to start to move to the place where I want us to be. And we continue that conversation, and we bring that into our world of how we interact with one another. It creates a space of engaging, of being in relationship that's real and honest and deep. It moves us from the surface, but to go deeper. That "and" requires us to go deeper. It opens up a space to recognize that people with opposite beliefs from ours still have inherent worth and dignity. And yet, we don't necessarily have to be in full agreement, but we can recognize that this is where they are. Now I see where they are. I can accept that's where they are, and let's have a conversation to move in a different direction. Or to be able to say, this is where they are. I know they're not going to be able to move from that place, but I'm not going to wish or pretend that they are in a different place. It's accepting and then seeing where that takes us. And improv spirituality allows us to sit and be present to all that is going around us, to say yes to what we see, to what we experience, the smells, the tastes, the touch, all of our senses, saying yes to all of those things. And engage them, to notice and be fully present. I think of mindfulness meditation as an improv meditation. It's about being present. And we can bring that into our everyday lives. What possibilities could there be? How deeper could our relationships be? How stronger could our conversations be? I invite you to say yes. Yes, and. Just try it. Maybe just for a few minutes a day. Then try a few hours. Then daily, then weekly, then monthly. As you bring it into your life and see what it has to offer you. May you be filled with a life of yes. Blessed be. My friends, let us close with these words by Dag Hammarskjöld. For all that has been, thanks. For all that will be, yes. May you be thankful for all that you have and say yes to what is possible. Blessed be.
Zap, zap, zap,